Hey everybody, Fatman here, and today, for whatever godforsaken reason, I am here to talk to you about Disney's 2005 CGI masterpiece, Chicken Little. So the first thing that you might notice is that we do have some new digs. Well, that's because thanks to that pesky little virus named Corona, you might have heard of it. I'm filming this video at my residence with my generic phone camera instead of at my editor's residence with his quality camera. So please, bear with us. That being said, quarantine makes a man do some strange things. And between going straight from work to home and vice versa, and the lack of interaction with sane people, I think I've officially gone insane, and that's where the idea for this video came from. Now, this film received a mostly lukewarm reaction upon release, but, like several other mediocre films of the era, B-movie, memes have successfully brought it back to life. People seem to either enjoy the stupidity of this movie or completely ignore it, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of love it. Now, I don't mean love it on the level of like masterpiece, like something like Scarface or the Blues Brothers, but I've seen this movie around 4 or 5 times in my lifespan from preteen to adult, and I gotta say, I've gotten a kick out of it every time. So without further ado, here is my look back at Disney's Chicken Little. So if you're familiar with the story of this pesky poultry, you already know that it falls around a small chicken who fears that the sky is falling and ventures across the land with a pack of friendly fowl to tell the king about it. And depending on which part of the world you live in, they either make it to the king or get eaten by a fox who tricks them into coming to his house. Nice. But wait, that. This movie throws that out and ends with an alien invasion. I shit you not. Which is absolutely ridiculous in hindsight, but I find it charming. After Little goes from the town crazy who claimed the sky was falling to a local hero for winning an important baseball game, he once again becomes the town crazy after what else? Claiming that the sky is falling. Again. He and his fellow outcasts come across a lost alien child, and near the climax of the movie, a fleet of aliens arrives to Little's hometown to reclaim their lost son. The story somewhat relies on the misunderstanding trope, but we are talking about a world full of anthropomorphic animals that are fighting against an alien invasion, so the point kind of stands. This is both ridiculous and hilarious. I'll even give credit here, even though the story is a little bit cliche, the design of the alien is not. And we actually get a pretty unique design that winds up looking like a mix between an insect and a troll doll. One thing I do want to point out though is that this movie is freaking hideous. Like, holy hell is this ugly. This wasn't even anything nice to look at in 2005, but man, it did not age well at all. Again, that being said, it kind of adds to the charm of the thing for me. Think about the fact that a character named Abby, the ugly duckling, winds up looking way more adorable than a character named Foxy Loxy, who's intended to be the cute one. I don't think the movie was necessarily going for this type of commentary, but the uglier design scheme lends itself to the flexibility of the characters. And while it's all not exactly natural looking, when they start to stretch in weird proportions, it looks better than something completely properly animated would look trying to get away with the style. Overall though, the movie being this hideous actually benefited the entire entertainment industry. I'm not joking. See, at the time of this film's release, the co-production deal between Disney and Pixar was set to expire by the time Pixar released their next film, Cars, in 2006. Leverage? You guessed it. For whatever reason, Chicken Little. See, if this movie succeeded, if Chicken Little succeeded, it would give Disney leverage against Pixar, deciding whether or not Disney should even bother to continue to distribute Pixar's films or start venturing into their own CGI territory. Yikes. A failure would prove that Disney is highly inexperienced in CGI and needed Pixar to continue making these films. Obviously, we know now that Pixar would go on to win this battle. And sure, they would release some absolute garbage titles like Monsters University, Cars 2, Toy Story 4, and Finding Dory. But we did wind up getting some masterpiece films from the studio, including WALL-E, Toy Story 3, Inside Out, and one of my personal favorites, Coco. So I'd argue we as moviegoers definitely won out in the end. And Chicken Little didn't. But that's okay. I still love you, Chicken Little. Moving on, we come to the humor. I don't think a single joke that was intended to be funny was funny. But there were so many great unintentional ones. I'll make this short and sweet. It was Disney attempting a CGI film in 2005. So all that really serve as our zingers is lazy slapstick, boring visual gags, and so many pop culture references. But if one line made watching the entire movie worth it, it was this one. During a dodgeball game, Chicken Little preps to take revenge against school bully Foxy Loxy, who had just taken a cheap shot against Little's friend Abby during a timeout. His shit talk line? That does it. We were in a timeout, Loxy. Prepare to hurt. And I don't mean emotionally like I do. What the hell? He's like 5. He's in grade school. That's great. Even that line works in context, however, which is crazy. I do want to point out a common criticism of this movie that I actually do agree with, and that's that this film is really mean-spirited. Like, seriously mean-spirited. Like, holy shit, the entire town comes together and finances a billboard to make fun of this little grade school chicken kid who thought that the sky was falling. That is unnecessarily cruel. And the entire town is just verbally and even physically abusive throughout the entirety of this film to Chicken Little and his friends. They put them down constantly, and at one point, even Little's father, Buck, suggests that he wishes his son would just kind of disappear. What the hell? That's freaking dark. I can't really make an excuse for this town of dickheads, but I will give the movie some credit in light of all of this on Buck's behalf. At its core, the film actually does tackle a very serious issue we haven't seen in many Disney properties up until this point, and it's that of being a single parent. Parents in Disney movies are either famously around but inattentive or dead. I'm not saying Buck's actions here weren't dickish, but I do believe that it was indicated pretty well to the viewer that his critiques were coming more from a place of love rather than hatred. And in the end, Buck does make the right call by standing by his son. It only took an alien invasion to get him to that point. Finally, I want to talk about our main characters. Aside from Chicken Little and Abby, we have Runt of the Litter. You only need this image to realize the absurdity of this naming mechanism. And to a somehow even more literal extent, Fish Out of Water. And look, I'm just going to say it, they're all adorable. They're quirky, outcast losers, but don't embody the cliche of just being the anti-cool kids. They're quirky, they're happy, they're fun. They talk about real issues, but also always manage to take something positive out of their situation. And just revel in being together as friends. Not to mention, the voice acting is a major strong point for this movie. Zach Braff as Chicken Little honestly might be my favorite role of his entire career. It just works so well. Then you have Joan Cusack, who is always a pleasure, brings life to Abby. Steve Zahn brings so much energy to Runt. And we even have some cameos from Patrick Warburton and Patrick Stewart. And an absolutely hilarious cameo from Adam West towards the end of the film, which might actually be the funniest joke in this movie. All in all, is this a cinematic masterpiece? No. Does it do anything new for CGI? God, no. But in my opinion, while the pop culture references are obviously overabundant, and the character motivation from the town and Buck can legitimately be cruel at points, this movie is just a fun, mindless watch. The main cast is likable. The voice acting is incredibly strong. And I think it has just enough laughs, whether intentional or not, to entertain when you're in the mood for a silly little popcorn flick. And that was it. That was my look back at a very random, obscure Disney movie from 2005. What did you think of Chicken Little? Honestly, let's put everything aside and look at this movie kind of objectively. Do you enjoy it? Did you ignore it? Have you even seen it? Because odds are a large chunk of you haven't. And if you have, a large chunk of you probably forgot you have seen it. What's your favorite underrated Disney movie? Or what's your favorite Disney movie that people kind of shit on? Let me know in the comments below and let us know what you'd like to see us take a look at. I've been Fatman and this is ZeitgeistOG. Please remember to smash that subscribe button and hit the stupid little bell to stay up to date with all notifications on your way out. And we will catch you guys, hopefully from the actual studio with the actual good camera, soon enough. Peace.